We are in Miami, where F1 transcends being just a sport and becomes a spectacle, garnering significant media attention. And right here, at one of the Grand Prix with the most spotlight on it, Ferrari has chosen to send a message. Clear, direct, targeted. Before we get into the details, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way you won't miss a single update from this weekend full of news. Ferrari arrives in Miami with a completely redesigned livery. No nostalgia effect, no returns to the past. This time the goal is only one, to conquer the American market. The new graphics feature red, white, and electric blue, the colors of the American flag. But also, those of HP, the tech giant that has been the title sponsor of the racing team for a year. This livery is a carefully planned operation. And it's not just about marketing. It's an attempt to make Ferrari more appealing to a young, digital, and American audience. It's Ferrari selling itself as a global brand, speaking the language of technology, design, and innovation. And it does so in a city like Miami, a symbol of all this. For the first time in its history, the team brings two single-seaters with asymmetric graphics to the track. The front wing and the rear wing have different colors on the left and right. It's a choice that breaks with tradition and obviously has divided the fans. But beyond aesthetics, there's substance. To apply this livery, a new material was used, thinner, lighter, more heat-resistant. It's a recyclable polyvinyl chloride, free film developed together with HP using latex technology. It's a way to say we are modern, we are green, we are ready for the future. The chief executive officer, Benedetto Vigna, was clear. This partnership is not just a logo on the machine. It's a change in the way the team works, communicates, moves, and above all, it's an investment to strengthen Ferrari's presence in the United States, the most important market in the world for luxury cars. From a business standpoint, this choice makes sense. Miami is one of the most glamorous events of the year. The circuit goes around the Miami Dolphins Stadium. The audience is full of celebrities. Here, F1 becomes a way of life. For Ferrari, it's the perfect time to send a precise message. We are here, we are part of this show, we want to be the protagonist. But then there's the track. And there things are more complex. Miami is a hybrid track. It has very long straights, slow city-style curves, and high-speed sections that require precision and aerodynamic load. For this reason, the setup is everything. Getting the balance between load and sufficiency wrong means compromising the entire weekend. Ferrari arrives with an SF25 that is still not convincing. It's a car that has strengths but also clear limitations, especially in slow corners and sections where mechanical grip is needed. The team has extensively prepared the simulator for this race. They looked for a setup that allows them to be competitive in all sections, but the blanket is short. If you push on the front end, you lose stability at the rear. If you lower the car too much to have more load, you risk damaging the bottom or wearing out the plank too much. And here comes the key point. Miami is also the second sprint weekend of the season. This means that from Friday, you need to find the right balance. A mistake in the first setup can affect the entire race. As already seen in China, where Hamilton had found the pole in the sprint, but then the race was a disaster due to the double disqualification of the two Ferraris. And now, Ferrari finds itself at a crossroads. It can risk lowering the car to get more performance in the sprint and in qualifying, but then have to go back for the actual race. Or it can aim for a more conservative compromise, but give up playing everything immediately. Meanwhile, Leclerc remains the most solid. He knows the environment, knows how to handle difficulties, and has been driving beyond the car's limits for years. Meanwhile, Hamilton is still adapting. After 12 years at Mercedes, finding himself in a different team with a different working method and a different car is not simple, and it shows. Hamilton struggled to find the feeling. The controls of the SF25 are not like those of the Mercedes cars. The approach to the weekend is different, and even though he won the sprint in China, his overall performance was below expectations. Miami can be a turning point for him. He can prove that he can adapt and drive in difficult conditions, and he can also take advantage of a sprint format where talent counts more than strategy. But talent is not enough. You need a car that puts you in a position to exploit it. And the SF25 is still far from being a complete single-seater at this moment. One of the main problems remains the management of ground clearances. Ferrari can't run with low setups without damaging the bottom. When they lower the front too much, the plank wears out quickly, the car loses balance and performance drops. It happened in Suzuka, it happened in China, and it risks happening in Miami too, if they exaggerate in the search for load. The team is aware of this limit. Vasseur hinted that they might try to push again on the heights in the sprint. Like in Shanghai, take advantage of Friday to seek an exploit. Then go back on Saturday to be safer in the race. But it's a choice that has a cost. Raise the expectations of the fans and then disappoint them on Sunday. Risky. Meanwhile, on a technical level, Miami is a track that requires a difficult compromise. There are three very different sectors. The first is fast, with quick turns and changes of direction. The second is slower, with sections similar to Monte Carlo. The third has the longest straight of the year, 0.8 miles between turn 16 and turn 17. A very hard braking. The setup must take all of this into account. Traction coming out of turns 1, 8, 16, and 17. Stability in braking, aerodynamic efficiency on the straight, mechanical grip in slow corners, and above all balance between the front and rear axles. Ferrari could choose to use a beam wing to compensate for a less loaded rear wing. McLaren, on the other hand, can afford to run with less load because it still manages to generate downforce with the floor and the suspensions, which is no small advantage. Another critical aspect: the rigid front suspensions to avoid rolls in fast corners, softer rear ones to better discharge the torque coming out of slow corners. But here too is the compromise. It's delicate. Too much rigidity in front penalizes the mechanical grip in slow corners, like the 11-16 sequence. Too much softness in the back can compromise stability in braking. In addition, there's the matter of the dampers. The shock absorbers need to be adjusted differently between slow and fast corners. If you focus everything on stability and support, you lose precision on the narrow. If you focus on grip, you risk having a car that moves too much in fast corners. All of this makes Miami a perfect test bench to understand the real level of the SF25. Because here you can't hide. If you get the setup wrong, you pay for it immediately, and you don't have time to fix it because with the sprint format, there's only one free practice session before qualifying. In Barcelona, the directive on flexible wings will come into effect, and Ferrari hopes to gain something from this regulatory change. It is said that McLaren and Mercedes are the most exposed, but it's all to be proven because even if the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile tries to limit certain solutions, the strongest teams always find a way to get around the obstacle. And McLaren at this moment has demonstrated a technical solidity that leaves little doubt. The updates are working, the ideas are clear, and the team is constantly growing. On the contrary, Ferrari has never really benefited from the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile directives. In fact, it often came out penalized. Thinking that this time will be different is a dangerous illusion. Also because if everyone really will be forced to use a lower front wing to compensate for the loss of load, the SF25 could be in trouble. It's precisely by lowering the front that the car goes into crisis, as we've already seen. The real leap in quality will only come with updates. And for now, there are no certain dates. There's talk of a package arriving between Imola and Barcelona. But until we see something concrete, they are just promises. In this scenario, the Miami weekend should be seen for what it is. A big image operation, a special livery, a strategic market. A sprint race that can give visibility even if you're not on the podium. It's an opportunity to keep the attention high while waiting for better times. But if we look at the results, expectations must remain low. Ferrari today is not at the level of Red Bull or McLaren, and not even Mercedes, which is slowly becoming competitive again. The maximum realistic goal is third place, maybe second if someone ahead makes a mistake, but nothing more. As mentioned, Leclerc is used to these difficulties. He has learned to drive above the problems, to live with a single-seater that never gives him everything. What he asks for, but to which he still manages to get something more. His experience in Ferrari has taught him to survive the difficult phases. And at this moment, he's the one keeping the team's results afloat. Hamilton, on the other hand, is in a transition process. After 12 years in Mercedes, he finds himself with a completely different car. With an opposite philosophy and a work method that is not his own, it's not a surprise that he's struggling, but he's not lacking in speed. And even if the feeling is not there yet, he has shown flashes that give hope. The sprint race in China was a significant signal, pole position and victory, the disaster of Sunday. But not his fault. If Ferrari can put him in condition, Hamilton can still be decisive, but he needs to regain confidence. He needs to rebuild his relationship with the car and learn to work with a team that is less structured compared to what he was used to. The Miami Grand Prix from this point of view can help him. It's a media context full of energy, and the American public is very attached to him. He knows how to handle the pressure, he knows how to take advantage of the fans' enthusiasm, and in a sprint weekend where everything happens quickly, experience can make the difference. Ferrari has decided to go all in on this event. You can also see it from the communication. The launch of the livery was done with great attention to detail. The new suits, the coordinated graphics, the presence of Hamilton and Leclerc at the presentation. Everything designed to impress, to leave a mark. And then there's the issue of sustainability. The new film used for the livery is lighter, thinner, recyclable. It's not just a technical message, it's a political message. It's Ferrari saying, we are in the future, we know where the world is going and we are going there too. This collaboration with HP has a value that goes beyond F1. It speaks of technology, innovation, design, and it speaks above all to the American market that Ferrari really wants to conquer, because that's where the money, the brand, the perception is played, and a Ferrari that speaks English, that dresses in electric blue and white, is a Ferrari that opens up, that changes skin, but it remains a Ferrari that on the track has to deal with the usual problems. And a new dress is not enough to change the result. The Miami circuit, with all its complexities, will expose the limits of the SF25. The slow curves require mechanical grip, and there the car suffers. The long straights test the aerodynamic efficiency. Intense braking stresses the brakes, cooling, load distribution, every detail counts. The real problem is that Ferrari has no margin. It must find the right setup immediately with no time for errors. And this with a car that has a behavior that is difficult to read, that changes balance with the increase of load, that responds irregularly to adjustments, that often behaves differently than expected in the simulator. And then there's the bottom, a bottom that scrapes, that wears out, that doesn't allow to fully exploit the aerodynamic potential of the project. The plank gets ruined too quickly, the ground clearances remain a structural limit, and until this problem is solved, Ferrari will always have to run with a safety margin, which means less performance, less aggressiveness, less chance to really fight in front, because even if it limits McLaren or Mercedes, it does not erase the problems of the SF25. The car doesn't rotate enough, it doesn't corner as it should. It doesn't have that responsiveness needed in mixed sections where the steering response and aerodynamic balance matter. So yes, Miami is important, but not so much for the points. It's important for building something, for understanding which direction to go, for better preparing the updates, to avoid arriving in Imola or Barcelona without references, because from now on, every weekend counts double. All this leads us to a question. What to really expect from Ferrari in Miami? The answer is simple. There will be no miracles, but there can be signals. A podium, if everything goes well, a good placement in sprint, a clean weekend without mistakes, without disqualifications, without technical failures, and maybe some lap in the lead if the strategy fits in the right way. But the real goal is another, to build continuity. Avoid those unexplainable performance jumps from one race to another. Regain stability, trust, method. Because that's where growth comes from. Not from a stroke of luck in a sprint, but from constant work, weekend after weekend, until the real updates arrive. The first major package should arrive between Imola and Barcelona. There we will see if Ferrari really has the ability to react, if it has understood where to intervene, if it has found a way to solve the basic problems, the structural ones, those that do not depend on the single track. More load is needed in slow cornering, more traction is needed on exit, a car is needed that can be lowered without risking disqualifications, a solid base is needed on which to build. All things that are still not there today, but that can be obtained. Provided that courageous choices are made, to dare and not to think that a change of graphics or a Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile directive is enough to get back in front. Miami is a transitional stage, a showcase, yes, but also a test. an opportunity to show that even in difficult times, the team knows how to stay compact, that it does not get lost in excuses, that it knows how to learn from its own mistakes, that at least in the management of the weekend it has taken a step forward, because the problem of Ferrari is not only technical, it is also mental. It is a team that too often gets scared when things go wrong, that gets stuck, that gets lost in the details and then can't react. This pattern needs to be reversed. A different culture needs to be built. We need to start believing that even without the best machine, something good can be done. And from this point of view, having Hamilton in the box can help. He has the experience, he has the track record, he knows what it takes to win, and he can be a point of reference even when the results do not come. But it also takes a team willing to listen, to change, to take a step towards the driver, not just expect him to adapt. In all of this, Leclerc remains central. He is the team man. He is the one who knows every inch of the structure. He is the one who must hold everything together, even in the most complicated moments, even when he knows that the car will not allow him to win. Miami is an opportunity to show that Ferrari is there, not at the top, not yet, but on the way, with an identity, with a clear direction, and with the awareness that real results will only come if you work well every day, not if you hope for a regulation that blocks others. Is the new livery beautiful, ugly? It's a matter of taste, but what really matters is that behind that livery, there is an idea, a project, a plan. And if this plan works, the results will come back, not tomorrow, but soon, provided that we don't get lost in the usual mistakes, that we don't look for the magic solution, and that we simply do what is necessary. Now it's your turn. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos where we will continue to follow everything that happens to Ferrari on and off the track.